The grand hall of the Scorith Empire stretched so far that its ceiling disappeared into golden mist. Columns carved from single pieces of starstone rose like frozen waterfalls, each one taller than Earth's greatest skyscrapers. Today, the hall buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered for the centennial tribute ceremony. Ambassador Chen Wei straightened her formal jacket and looked down at the 12 children standing beside her. The human delegation from Earth looked tiny compared to the towering aliens around them. The children wore matching blue uniforms, their faces showing a mixture of wonder and fear. "Remember," Chen whispered gently, "we're here as cultural ambassadors. Just watch, learn, and be respectful." 8-year-old Maya nodded, clutching her worn backpack against her chest. Her dark eyes took in everything: the floating light orbs, the aliens with too many arms, the gentle music that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. "Why does everyone look so worried?" asked Tommy, another orphan who stood beside Maya. Chen smiled sadly. "Because Emperor Kashvaran has rejected every gift brought to him for 500 years. Every single one." Maya's eyes widened. 500 years was longer than her whole country had existed. A deep gong echoed through the hall. Everyone fell silent. At the far end, massive doors opened slowly, revealing a throne that seemed carved from a mountain of red crystal. And on that throne sat the Dragon Emperor himself. Maya gasped. She had seen pictures, but nothing prepared her for the reality. Emperor Kashvaran was enormous, easily 50 feet from snout to tail. His scales gleamed like polished rubies, each one the size of a dinner plate. His eyes were ancient pools of amber that had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations. 2 great wings, folded against his back, shimmered with patterns that shifted like oil on water. When he breathed, small wisps of steam curled from his nostrils. "The tribute ceremony begins," announced a tall alien with silver skin and 4 arms. "The crystalline collective approaches first." A group of beings made entirely of living crystal floated forward. They carried between them a glowing sphere that pulsed with inner light. Their spokesman bowed low. "Great Emperor, we offer the heart of Luminos, a star captured at the moment of its birth, containing the energy of 1,000 suns." The Dragon Emperor's gaze fell upon the gift. For a moment, everyone held their breath. Then, without a word, Kashvaran looked away. His tail swished once, a clear dismissal. The crystal beings dimmed with disappointment and retreated. "The mechanoid sovereignty approaches," the announcer continued. A delegation of robot-like creatures carried forward an intricate device covered in impossible mechanisms. "We present the Infinity Engine technology that can fold space itself, making any journey instant." Again, the Emperor looked. Again. He turned away without speaking. One by one, delegations approached. The plant people of Verdania offered a seed that could terraform dead worlds. The methane-breathing Gassarians presented rare elements from their poison storms. The telepathic mindweavers brought memories of the universe's birth, captured in crystal matrices. Every gift was rejected. Maya watched the Emperor's face carefully. She had expected him to look proud or mean, but instead, he just looked tired. Terribly, deeply tired. "He's lonely," she whispered to herself. "What?" Chen asked, leaning down. "The Emperor. He looks lonely." Before Chen could respond, Maya's backpack slipped from her hands. The zipper, already broken, gave way completely. Crayons scattered across the perfect marble floor, red, blue, green, yellow, rolling in every direction like tiny colorful logs. The entire hall turned to look. Maya's face burned with embarrassment. Her heart pounded so hard she could hear it in her ears. She dropped to her knees and began gathering the crayons as fast as she could, tears stinging her eyes. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry," she whispered, crawling across the floor. A shadow fell over her. Maya looked up and up and up. The Dragon Emperor had risen from his throne. For the first time in decades, he had moved during a ceremony. His massive head lowered, and those ancient amber eyes focused directly on the small human child scrambling on the floor. "What are these?" His voice rumbled like distant thunder, not angry but curious. Maya's voice came out as a squeak. "Crayons, Your Majesty. For drawing." "Drawing," the Emperor repeated, as if tasting an old word he'd forgotten. Maya managed to gather the last crayon and stood up on shaky legs. Every being in the hall watched in stunned silence. The Dragon Emperor had not spoken directly to anyone during a tribute ceremony in living memory. Chen started to step forward, but something made her stop. She watched, barely breathing. Maya knew she should leave, should bow and back away like she'd been taught. But looking up at the Emperor's face, she saw something that made her brave. Beneath all that power and age, she saw the same look her friend Sarah had worn after Sarah's grandmother died, the look of someone who had lost something precious long ago. Her hand went into her backpack's front pocket, finding the card she'd made during the long space journey to the Scoreth homeworld. She had made it to give to Ambassador Chen, to say thank you for bringing the orphans on this amazing trip. But suddenly, Maya knew who really needed it. "Your Majesty," she said, her voice small but clear. I made something. May I give it to you?" The entire hall seemed to hold its breath. The Dragon Emperor, who had rejected star hearts and infinity engines, who had dismissed the treasures of 1,000 worlds, slowly lowered his great head until it was level with the tiny human child. "Show me," he said softly. Maya's hands trembled as she held the card. Every eye in the grand hall watched her, thousands of beings from across the galaxy, all waiting to see what would happen next. The tiny human child standing before the most powerful ruler in the known universe. Emperor Kashvaran's massive head remained lowered, his amber eyes fixed on Maya with an intensity that made her heart pound. Up close, she could see her reflection in his ruby-red scales. She could feel the warmth radiating from his ancient body. I made this on our ship," Maya said, her voice barely a whisper. "Coming here from Earth." She held up the card with both hands. It was simple, just folded paper from the ship's recycling program. On the front, she had drawn a large red dragon with crayon. The dragon stood protectively over smaller creatures, humans, aliens, even some animals from Earth. Above them, she had colored a bright yellow sun, with rays reaching down like gentle hands. The drawing wasn't perfect. The dragon's wings were a bit crooked. Some of the crayon had smudged. But every line had been drawn with care, with genuine effort. Kashvaran reached out one massive claw, extending it toward Maya. His talon alone was longer than her entire arm. She carefully placed the card on his palm, and he lifted it to his eyes. The Emperor studied the drawing in complete silence. Seconds stretched into a minute. The entire hall held its breath. Ambassador Chen felt her heart racing, praying she hadn't just caused an intergalactic incident by bringing children to this ceremony. Then, slowly, carefully, Emperor Kashvaran opened the card. Inside, in Maya's careful handwriting, the kind that comes from a child who is still learning to write neatly, were simple words. "Dear Emperor Kashvaran, thank you for keeping the galaxy safe. My mama and papa told me your ships protect the trade routes. Because of you, medicine came to our colony when people were sick. You helped save lives. You helped save my friend Tommy's little sister. Thank you for being strong and kind. From Maya, Earth." The Emperor read the words once, then again. His claw trembled slightly, just barely, but Maya noticed. A single drop of moisture appeared at the corner of one ancient amber eye. The silence in the hall was so complete that when the Emperor finally spoke, his voice, though soft, reached every corner. "Why?" he asked, looking at Maya. "Why do you thank me, small one? I did not know your colony existed. I did not send those ships for you. The trade routes are protected because it serves the Empire's interests. Why do you give me gratitude for something I did not do specifically for you? Maya thought about this carefully. She remembered what her mother had taught her. In those last days, before the accident, Mama said, Maya began, finding her courage, that when someone does something good, it doesn't matter if they did it just for you. If their good action helps you, you should say, thank you. She said, the people who grow our food don't know us, but we're grateful to them. The people who built our house never met us, but we appreciate their work, and you. She looked up at the enormous dragon. You keep the trade routes safe. Maybe not for me personally, but your actions helped me anyway. That deserves a thank you. The Emperor's eyes widened slightly. For a long moment, he simply stared at this small human child who had just explained gratitude to him as if it were the simplest, most obvious thing in the world. No one, he said slowly, has given me gratitude without wanting something in return. In over 300 years. I don't want anything, Maya said honestly. I just wanted you to know that your work matters, that somebody noticed, that somebody is grateful. Kashvaran closed his claw gently around the card, as if it were made of the most delicate crystal. He straightened to his full height, and when he spoke, his voice carried across the hall with unmistakable emotion. For 500 years, I have sat on my throne and rejected gifts. I rejected star hearts and infinity engines. I rejected treasures that could buy solar systems. I did this because every gift came with expectations, with strings attached, with hidden prices to pay. He held up Maya's card for all to see. But this child has given me something I thought lost forever. She has given me a gift that expects nothing. A gift of pure, honest gratitude. She has reminded me that not all gestures are transactions. That some things are given simply because the giver has a generous heart. He looked down at Maya again. And this time, there was the hint of a smile on his ancient face. Would you and your friends honor me with your presence in my private garden? I would like to speak with you more, young Maya of Earth. Gasps echoed through the hall. The Emperor's private garden was legendary. No outsider had been invited there in living memory. Advisors whispered frantically to each other. Diplomats stood frozen in shock. Ambassador Chen stepped forward quickly, bowing low. Your Majesty, we would be deeply honored. The Emperor rose from his throne, his wings unfurling slightly. The ceremony is concluded, he announced to the assembly. I have received a gift today that has more value than all the treasures in my vault. Let the word go forth. The Dragon Emperor has accepted a present for the first time in 500 years. As Kashvaran moved toward a side entrance, Maya and the other orphans followed, their eyes wide with wonder. Tommy grabbed Maya's hand and squeezed it. You did it, he whispered. You actually did it. Maya wasn't quite sure what she had done, but she felt warm inside, like sunshine was glowing in her chest. She had just wanted to say thank you. She hadn't expected anything like this. As they walked through corridors of carved stone and floating light, Sarah leaned close to Maya. What do you think he wants to talk about? Maya shrugged, still clutching her backpack with its scattered crayons. I don't know. Maybe he just wants someone to talk to. Someone who won't ask him for anything. She thought about the loneliness she had seen in the Emperor's eyes. That same empty feeling she sometimes felt when she missed her parents, late at night. Maybe even dragon emperors got lonely. Maybe everyone, no matter how powerful, needed to know that someone appreciated them. The corridor opened into a garden more beautiful than anything Maya had ever imagined. And she realized that her simple card had unlocked something far more precious than any treasure. It had unlocked a door to a lonely heart that had been closed for far too long. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. Sonnet 4.5. The private garden of Emperor Kashvaran existed in a place few beings had ever seen. Stone pathways wound between pools of crystal-clear water that reflected twin moons hanging in a purple sky. Trees with silver leaves whispered ancient songs, and flowers that bloomed only once every century filled the air with gentle fragrance. Maya walked beside Ambassador Chen, her small hand clasped tightly in the diplomat's palm. Behind them, the other 11 orphans followed in silent wonder, their eyes wide as moons. Tommy gripped his sister Sarah's hand. Even the normally talkative Marcus had gone completely quiet. The Dragon Emperor moved ahead of them, his massive form somehow graceful among the delicate garden paths. His scales caught the moonlight, creating patterns of red and gold that danced across the water. "In 500 years," whispered one of the Emperor's advisors, "a elderly dragon with green scales. He has never brought anyone here. Never. 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 Never." They reached a circular clearing where 7 statues stood, arranged in a perfect ring. Each statue depicted a dragon, but they were different from Kashvaran. Smaller, more delicate. Their stone faces frozen in expressions of joy and laughter. The Emperor settled himself near the largest statue, his tail curling around its base like a protective barrier. He gestured with one claw toward smooth stones, arranged in a semicircle. "Please, sit," he said. The children sat down carefully, still too amazed to speak. Maya found herself directly in front of the Emperor, her hand-drawn card still clutched in his massive claw. He had not let it go since the throne room. "Do you know why I reject all gifts?" Kashvaran asked, his voice softer than thunder now, more like a distant waterfall. Maya shook her head. The other children leaned forward, listening. The Emperor's amber eyes grew distant, looking at something far away in time. 300 years ago, I had a family, a mate, Seraphina, and a daughter, Lyria. He gestured to the largest statue, a beautiful dragon with wings spread wide, frozen mid-laugh. Lyria loved to create things, Kashvaran continued. She would spend hours making sculptures from mud, painting on cave walls, arranging flowers into patterns. She was not the strongest dragon, or the fastest, or the most powerful, but she had a gift for finding beauty in simple things. Maya looked at the statue with new eyes. She could almost imagine the dragon princess arranging flowers, just like Maya arranged her crayons by color. "Beings from across the galaxy came to our empire," the Emperor said. "They brought gifts, magnificent gifts, weapons that could crack planets, machines that could control stars, jewels worth more than entire solar systems." His voice grew harder, like stone grinding against stone. "But I learned the truth. Every gift came with strings attached. The weapon makers wanted military alliances. The machine builders wanted trade monopolies. The jewel merchants wanted exclusive rights to our asteroid fields. No one gave freely. Every present was a transaction, a manipulation, a scheme wrapped in pretty paper." "That's mean," said Sarah quietly. Her brother Tommy nodded in agreement. "Yes," Kashvaran agreed. "It was. I grew bitter. I began to reject everything, to trust nothing. I built walls around my heart higher than these palace towers." He paused, his great chest rising and falling with a sigh that rustled the silver leaves. And then, Seraphina and Lyria passed away, as all mortal beings eventually do. Even dragons do not live forever. Tears appeared in Maya's eyes. She understood loss. Her parents had died in the colony disaster 2 years ago. The ache of missing them never quite went away. After they were gone, the Emperor continued, "I rejected gifts, not because I feared manipulation, but because nothing had value anymore. What use is a star's heart when your own heart feels empty? What meaning has infinite power when you have lost what you truly cherished?" He carefully unfolded Maya's card, looking at the crayon, drawing again the simple red dragon, helping smaller creatures under a bright yellow sun. His claw traced the words, "Thank you for keeping the galaxy safe." For 500 years, Kashvaran said, beings have brought me treasures expecting something in return. But you, small Maya of Earth, you gave me something that expected nothing. You said thank you because you felt grateful, not because you wanted favors or power or wealth. My mama taught me to say thank you, Maya said softly. She said when someone helps you, even if they don't know they helped you, you should let them know you're grateful. The Emperor's eyes shimmered. Were those tears? Your mother was wise. This drawing, it reminds me of Lyria's creations. Simple, honest, made with care, not calculation. It is the first genuine gift I have received in centuries. Tommy raised his hand shyly, like he was in school. Your Majesty? I make things too. Would you? Would you like to see? Kashvaran's head tilted with interest. What do you make? Tommy pulled out a small origami crane from his pocket, folded from shiny blue paper. It's a bird. From Earth. I made it on the ship coming here. The Emperor extended his claw, and Tommy placed the delicate paper crane on it. The massive dragon examined it with the same care he had given Maya's card. Beautiful, he said simply. Sarah stepped forward next, holding out a bracelet woven from colorful threads. I made friendship bracelets. This one has your colors red and gold. One by one, the other orphans came forward. Marcus had a small painted rock. Jenny had a poem written in careful handwriting. David had carved a piece of soap into a tiny dragon. Each child offered something simple, something made with their own hands, something given freely from the heart. Kashvaran accepted each one, examining every gift with genuine wonder. His expression, stern and cold for so many centuries, softened into something almost like a smile. Children of Earth, he said, his voice thick with emotion. You have given me more than your simple crafts. You have reminded me of something I had forgotten, that the most valuable things cannot be bought or sold. They can only be given freely, from one heart to another. He looked around at all 12 young faces, then at Ambassador Chen. I wish to understand more about humans, he declared. About beings who teach their orphan children to express gratitude, even after experiencing loss. Ambassador Chen, I will visit your colonies. I will learn about your people. And perhaps, he looked at his garden statues, perhaps I will remember how to feel joy again. Maya stood and walked closer to the great Emperor. Without fear, she reached out and touched his scaled claw. You're not alone anymore, she said simply. For the first time in 500 years, Emperor Kashvaran smiled, truly smiled, and the garden seemed to bloom brighter in response. Within hours, every major news network across the galaxy broadcast the same incredible headline. Dragon Emperor accepts gift after 500 years from human child. Holographic displays showed the image of Maya's crayon drawing, now carefully preserved behind protective crystal in the Emperor's private garden. In the Galactic Council chambers on the neutral station Harmony 7, ambassadors from hundreds of worlds gathered in emergency session. They spoke in hushed, amazed voices. A child's drawing, said Ambassador Thex of the Crystalline Collective, his translucent body flickering with confusion. We offered him the heart of Luminos, and he rejected it. But he accepted crayons on paper? 1. OS. Ambassador Chen stood at the center podium, trying to hide her own surprise. The Emperor valued the sincerity of the gesture. Maya expected nothing in return. She simply wanted to express gratitude. Lever. Lever. Lever 2. A reptilian delegate from the Saurian Commonwealth hissed thoughtfully. Perhaps we have forgotten the difference between gifts and transactions. When was the last time any of us gave something expecting absolutely nothing back? The chamber fell silent. No one could remember. 3 days later, Emperor Kashvaran's personal ship descended through the clouds above New Hope Colony, the settlement where Maya had lived before becoming an orphan. The colony's acting governor, Maria Santos, watched nervously as the massive vessel landed in the central plaza. I never imagined we'd host the Dragon Emperor, she whispered to her assistant. Our colony is so small, so simple. The Emperor emerged, his crimson scales gleaming in the afternoon sun. The colonists gathered, keeping a respectful distance. Many had never seen a dragon in person before. Children peeked from behind their parents' legs, eyes wide with wonder. Maya ran forward, waving. Emperor Kashvaran. The great dragon's face brightened an expression his own advisors still couldn't quite believe. Thank you, young Maya. Please, show me your home. For 3 days, the Emperor toured the colony. He saw things no ruler of his stature had bothered to see in centuries. He visited the community garden where families grew vegetables together, everyone sharing the harvest. He watched neighbors help rebuild a family's home after a storm had damaged the roof, expecting no payment. He observed the evening gatherings where people shared meals, told stories, and sang songs. On the second day, Maya took him to the memorial wall, a simple structure where the names of those lost in the disaster were carved. Her parents' names were there, James and Linda Chen. We come here to remember, Maya said softly, touching her parents' names. And to promise, we'll take care of each other. Like they would have wanted. Kashvaran studied the wall quietly. Then he noticed something else. Beside each name was a small space where people had left tokens. Flowers, photos, small drawings, handwritten notes. Simple things, given with love. Your species grieves together, he observed. You support each other through loss. We have to, said Governor Santos, who had joined them. Out here on the frontier, we only have each other. No one survives alone. We build community, not because it's profitable, but because it's necessary. The Emperor touched one of the memorial flowers gently with his claw. The Scorith Empire once understood this. Before we became powerful, before we dominated the stars, we too relied on each other. When did we forget? On the third day, Kashvaran visited the colony school. The children had prepared a presentation about Earth's history. Not the grand moments of kings and conquerors, but the small stories of ordinary people helping each other. A farmer who shared seeds during famine. A teacher who taught for free in a poor village. A doctor who treated patients who couldn't pay. Why do you teach these stories? The Emperor asked the young teacher. Mr. Okonkwo. Because, the teacher replied, we want our children to understand that heroism isn't just about being powerful or famous. Sometimes the most heroic thing is simple kindness. A helping hand. A genuine smile. A thank you card. He glanced at Maya and winked. She grinned back. That evening, as Kashvaran prepared to depart, something unexpected happened. The colonists had organized a farewell gathering. They brought no expensive gifts, no rare treasures. Instead, each family had contributed to a large quilt, hand-sewn with squares, depicting scenes from the Emperor's visit. In the center square, a child had embroidered a red dragon surrounded by happy people. We wanted to thank you for visiting us, Governor Santos said. For seeing us. For caring about our small community. The Emperor accepted the quilt carefully, his enormous claws surprisingly gentle. As his ship lifted into the sky, Kashvaran looked down at the colonists waving goodbye. They had given him something precious, not materials or technology, but perspective, a reminder of what truly mattered. Back on the Scorith homeworld, change began to ripple outward. The Emperor called his advisors together. We will establish new programs, he announced. Cultural exchanges with Earth and other worlds, not to extract resources or gain advantage, but to learn. To remember what we've forgotten about connection and community. His green-scaled advisor nodded thoughtfully. The other species are already responding. Your Majesty. The Crystalline Collective has announced they're sending artists instead of traders to their next diplomatic missions. The mechanoids are teaching emotion recognition programs to their AI. Everyone is. Reconsidering. Good, Kashvaran said. For too long, we have measured worth in power and profit. Perhaps it is time to remember older values. Word spread throughout the galaxy. Governments that had focused solely on expansion began investing in community programs. Trade agreements started including cultural exchange clauses. Diplomatic gifts became more personal, more thoughtful, less calculated. The Galactic Council noticed something remarkable: conflicts decreased. When beings focused on genuine connection rather than strategic advantage, they found common ground more easily. Understanding grew where suspicion had lived. Ambassador Chen received a private message from the Emperor. Tell Maya that her card has started something larger than she knows. One child's sincere gratitude has reminded an entire galaxy what we'd forgotten. I am coming to understand that humanity's greatest strength is not your technology or your adaptability. It is your capacity to remain genuinely, authentically human, even among the stars. Maya, reading the message over Chen's shoulder, simply smiled. I just wanted to say, thank you, she said. Is that really so special? Chen hugged her gently. Yes, sweetheart. Sometimes the simplest things are the most special of all. 6 months had passed since Maya's crayon drawing changed the galaxy. In the heart of the Scorith Empire's capital city, workers put finishing touches on a magnificent new building. It stood beside the ancient palace, its walls made of transparent crystal that caught and scattered light into rainbow patterns. Above the entrance, elegant letters proclaimed, "The Garden of Simple Gifts." Emperor Kashvaran watched from his balcony as the final preparations were made. Tomorrow would be the grand opening, and beings from across the galaxy had requested to attend. Not kings or presidents this time, children. Thousands of children. Your Majesty, said his advisor, approaching with a datapad. The guest list has grown again. We now have children registered from 847 different worlds. The Emperor's eyes gleamed with pleasure. Excellent. Make sure we have enough space for everyone. And enough crayons. He paused, then chuckled a sound his advisors were still getting used to hearing. I never imagined I would concern myself with crayon supplies. The next morning, the plaza in front of the garden filled with a sea of young faces. Children of every imaginable species gathered, some with scales, some with fur, some made of living light, others existing as clouds of gas in containment suits. Human children stood beside insectoid younglings. Plant-based children from Verdania compared their flower buds with the crystalline facets of young collective members. Maya stood near the entrance, wearing a special blue sash that identified her as Ambassador of Authenticity. A title the Emperor had created just for her. The other, 11 orphans from Earth, wore matching sashes. They had become the Emperor's official helpers, teaching other children about sincere expression and genuine kindness. Are you nervous? Tommy whispered to Maya. A little, she admitted. That's a lot of kids. Sarah squeezed her hand. You'll do great. You always do. A hush fell over the crowd as Emperor Kashvaran emerged from the palace. He had grown more comfortable around people these past months, his movements less stiff, his expression warmer. He descended the palace steps and stood before the crystal building. Children of the galaxy. His voice boomed gently across the plaza. For 500 years, I sat in my throne room, rejecting gifts from the powerful and wealthy. I had forgotten what true generosity looked like. Then, a small human child gave me a drawing, expecting nothing, wanting nothing, simply expressing gratitude from her heart. He gestured to Maya, who blushed as thousands of eyes turned toward her. That card reminded me of my own daughter, who loved to create. It reminded me that the most valuable things in the universe cannot be bought, sold, or traded. They can only be given freely. Today, we open this garden to celebrate that truth. The crystal doors swung open, revealing the interior. The children gasped. Inside, the garden was designed like a spiral, winding upward through multiple levels. At the very center, in a case of pure light, hung Maya's original crayon drawing. Around it, display cases waited, hundreds of them. Currently, empty. Ready to be filled. This garden will hold gifts from children across the galaxy, Kashvaran explained as groups began to enter. Not expensive things, not rare treasures. Simple creations made with your own hands and hearts. Drawings, crafts, poems, songs, anything that expresses genuine feeling. Children rushed forward excitedly. Tables had been set up throughout the garden, stocked with art supplies from 100 worlds. Earth crayons sat beside Verdanian plant dyes. Crystalline etching tools lay next to Saurian clay shapers. Holographic light painters from the digital realms neighbored traditional paper and pencils. Maya walked through the spiraling levels, watching in wonder as children created. A young mechanoid, usually so logical and precise, carefully drew a picture of its family. A gaseous child from the nebula clouds used special tools to shape itself into patterns of gratitude. Twin plant children from Verdania wove flowers into a living sculpture. Tommy had set up an origami station, teaching aliens how to fold paper into birds and butterflies. Sarah made friendship bracelets with children who had tentacles instead of wrists, adapting the design so everyone could wear one. Marcus painted alongside a young dragon who used small flames to create art on heat-resistant canvas. By afternoon, the first displays were ready. Children placed their creations in the cases, each accompanied by a small note explaining what it meant. A crystalline child had made a prism that split light into rainbows. Thank you for showing us that beauty comes in simple forms. A Saurian youngling carved a small stone. Gratitude for teaching us to share feelings, not just facts. Emperor Kashvaran moved through the garden slowly, examining each piece with the same care he'd given Maya's card. He spoke with every child, asking about their creations, listening to their stories. His guards noticed something remarkable. The emperor, who had once seemed carved from stone, now laughed freely, his eyes bright with genuine joy. As the sun began to set, casting golden light through the crystal walls, a special ceremony took place at the garden's heart. Maya stood beside the emperor as he addressed the gathered children one final time. Today, you have created something more important than art, he said. You have created connection. You have shown that beings from different worlds, with different bodies and different languages, can share the same basic feelings: gratitude, kindness, joy, and love. He looked down at Maya. Would you like to say something, young ambassador? Maya stepped forward, her voice small but clear. I just wanted to say, thank you, all of you. When I made that first card, I was just being myself. I didn't know it would become all this. But I'm glad it did, because now I have friends from all over the galaxy. And I think that's the best gift anyone could ever get. The children cheered, some with voices, some with color changes, some with harmonious vibrations. The sound was chaotic but beautiful, a symphony of different species, united in joy. That evening, after the crowds had departed, Kashvaran stood alone in the garden, though not truly alone, for Maya and the other orphans had asked to stay with him. They sat together beneath the display of Maya's original drawing, the crystal walls reflecting starlight from above. Your Majesty, Maya asked softly, do you think your daughter would have liked this garden? The emperor was quiet for a moment, his ancient eyes distant. Then he smiled a real, warm smile. Yes, little one. I think Lyria would have loved it very much. And I think she would have been happy to know that her father finally remembered how to smile again. He looked at the children around him, human, yes, but also the beginning of something larger. Tomorrow, more children would come. Next week, the garden would host its first art class. Next month, the first cultural exchange program would begin. A simple thank you card had opened a door that had been closed for centuries. And through that door, warmth and light were flooding back into a galaxy that had forgotten the value of simple, genuine kindness. Maya leaned against the Emperor's scaled side, feeling the ancient warmth of his presence. Above them, through the crystal ceiling, stars twinkled, countless worlds, countless beings, all connected now by the understanding that the best gifts come not from wealth or power, but from the heart. The Dragon Emperor, who had rejected all treasures, had finally found what he'd been missing all along. Not expensive gifts, but the priceless gift of sincere connection. And it had started with crayons, paper, and one small child brave enough to say thank you.